Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. This is Raja Umar on my channel RU Speaks, and Raja Umar speaks for you for the subject of Pakistan Studies, both components, history, geography, and IGCSE global perspectives as well. So we are moving in the topics of history these days, and we are studying the topics related to section 2. In the last lesson, we talked about the daily proposals and the topics related to that one. So we talked about the Simon Commission and why the Simon Commission arrived in India. What were the reasons that the locals, the Indians, Muslims, and the Hindus, they rejected the proposals presented by Simon Commission, and what were the reasons that the British government started thinking in some other way to resolve the issues of the subcontinent apart from bringing the new reforms. So we have done with this one. Now we are going to talk about the further topics which are related to the 4 marks questions. 4 marks questions of this section 2 up till 1927, and we will discuss these ones over here today in our today's lesson. And here we have the 4 marks questions of section 2, but not whole of section 2. They are from 1885, I mean from the establishment of Indian National Congress up to 1927, I mean Simon Commission. So here are the questions, and you are supposed to be really very much vigilant about attempting 4 marks questions. You are supposed to put in 4 points must in this question to gain 4 marks. If you are not putting in 4 points over there, or you are not developing 1 point out of them, you can develop 1 point and you can put in 2 undeveloped points to gain 4 again in that sense as well. But it is better to have 4 points should be mentioned over there in the attempt of this question. So as you know that they are the part A of every question. I mean 2A, 3A, 4A, and 5A. So these 4 questions, out of which you are supposed to attempt 2. For every question, you are supposed to be having 1 question A part. All of these are 4 marks questions of all A parts of each question. So this is how you are supposed to attempt them. So number 1, what is Congress? It was an Indian organization in the beginning to represent their views to the British government. It was formed in 1885 with the help of Sir A. O. Hume, Ellen Octavian Hume, and Sir Henry Cotton. So these were the 2 persons who were responsible for the establishment of Indian National Congress in the subcontinent in 1885. Later, it became a political party under the leadership of Gandhi. It was a Hindu dominant body, and there were only few idealist Muslims in Congress, like Maulana Abul Kalam Azad. He was a congressman over there, and he opposed the creation of Pakistan, and he even went really very harsh against the ideology of Quaid-e-Azam and even of Allama Iqbal. So, but he was a Muslim. He was in the Congress party at that time. So you can see that here, overall, if you see, we have mentioned point number 1 over here. It was an Indian organization to represent their views to the British. It was formed in 1885 with the help of Sir Hume and Sir Henry Cotton. So in one sense, this is a bit developed point. I mean, the point was actually that it was formed in 1885, but it got further explanation that who formed this organization, A. O. Hume and Sir Henry Cotton. So it means that you may be able to get 2 marks out of this one, but in one sense it is a single point, and it is point number 2. Later it became a political party under the leadership of Gandhi. Point number 3, it was a Hindu dominant body, and there were only few idealist Muslims in Congress. So point number 4. So to attempt this 4 marks question, 4 points are there. Then next one, what was Muslim League? It was a Muslim political party formed to represent the Muslims in the to the British. So point number 1 over here. Then it was formed in 1906. Point number 2. Sir Aga Khan was the first president of All India Muslim League. Point number 3. It passed Lahore Resolution under the leadership of Jinnah in 1940. Point number 4. It achieved independence from the British in 1947. Point number 5. So overall 5 points are there, but if you put in 4, any one of them, so you will be awarded with 4 marks. So as you know that there are 5 points available, still okay, but you will get maximum if you write these ones. Describe similar deputation of 1906. Similar deputation. In 1906, 36 prominent Muslim leaders led by Sir Aga Khan met Viceroy Lord Minto at Simla. So it is a quite, you can say, a detailed sort of sentence. Number 1, it showed that when 1906, who 36 Muslim leaders under the headship of Sir Aga Khan met Lord Minto, Viceroy of the subcontinent. Where? At Simla. So, when, who was leading them, whom, and where. So you can see that many of the answers are given in a single sentence. That it happened in 1906. There were 35 or 36 Muslim prominent leaders across the subcontinent, led by Sir Aga Khan, met Viceroy Lord Minto at Simla. So quite a detailed sentence it is. Muslims asked for more seats than their actual population, and the Muslims only electorate, separate electorate was demanded in this meeting of Simla deputation. These were granted to them in the parliamentary reforms of 1909. So you can see that over here, you can see this one was a complex sentence. 2 marks can be awarded for it. And then Muslims asked for more seats and separate electorates. So 1 mark for this sentence, and this separate electorate was granted in Minto Wale reforms of 1909. Again, this is the development of this upper sentence. So 2. So in this way, you can see 2 marks you can gain out of this sentence number 1, and the rest of the whole of the paragraph you can be awarded 2 marks. So 4 marks from here. So in this way you can get 4 out of 4 if you write this one. What were parliamentary reforms of 1909? These were introduced in India as Indian Consuls Act of 1909, as the seats of the consuls were increased as we studied in the topic of Minto Wale reforms of 1909. The British government increased the seats of the imperial consul, the legislative consul, the executive consul, and the provincial consuls. So that is why it is termed as the Indian Consuls Act, these reforms. And these were by Lord Morley and Lord Minto to give increased share to Indians in the government by increasing the number of seats. In this, seats in imperial and central executive councils were increased for Indians. Muslims were given separate electorate and 1/3 seats in all the elections. So again, you can see that 4 points are available there. Name of that act is also really very important, that the Minto Wale reforms, they are named as Indian Consuls Act of 1909, and Lord Minto and the Lord Morley, those who presented these reforms, or they drafted these reforms for the locals in the subcontinent. And then in these seats, what in these reforms, what were there? These seats were increased in the imperial council, central executive council, and the provincial councils as well for the Indians, and Muslims were given the separate electorate, and they got 1/3 seats in the election. So it means that quite well explained or well detailed points are given. So what was Lucknow Pact? In 1916, Congress and Muslim League met in Lucknow. They had the joint session of both the political parties over there. It was Jinnah who persuaded both parties to meet. Muslims' demands of separate electorates and 1/3 majority seats were accepted first time by Indians, by Hindus. Not Indians, but Hindus, I mean Indian National Congress accepted this demand of the Muslims. So they both put their joint demands to the British, and this Lucknow Pact lasted till the end of the Khilafat movement in 1924. So you can see that it happened in 1916, point number one, and Muslim League and Congress, they held their joint sessions at Lucknow. Point number two, it was Jinnah who made this happen. Point number three, Muslims' demands were accepted by Indian National Congress or the Hindus. Point number four, and both political parties put forward their joint demands to the British government. So what were Montague-Chelmsford reforms of 1919? These reforms were passed in 1919 as Government of India Act of 1919. They are termed as the name of the law by Lord Chelmsford and Lord Montague. So these were the people who were responsible for these reforms happening. Two-house national parliament was started in India, bicameral legislature was introduced. I mean, the upper house and the lower house. A system of diarchy. We have studied this one while we were discussing the topics related to Montague-Chelmsford reforms. System of diarchy was started in which half of the areas of responsibilities were reserved and half of them were transferred to the Indian ministers, locals. So it means that we have talked about the reserved subjects and transferred subjects. So the departments which remained under the control of the British, they were known as reserved subjects, and those who were transferred to the locals, they are known as the transferred subjects. So again, 4 points are there. What was Rowlatt Act? In 1918, Justice Rowlatt recommended that the Defence of India Act should be started or imposed permanently in India. Arrest without warrant and prison without bail was introduced. This act was passed in 1919. There was huge opposition to this act and Jinnah resigned from the Imperial Legislative Council on the passing of this act for the Indians. So you can say 1918, Justice Rowlatt was the person who presented these. So you can say a bit developed point. And imposition of Defence of India Act. So a well-detailed sentence, 2 marks can be given. Arrest without warrant and prison without bail. So again, 1 mark each of these, that what was there in that act. This act was passed in 1919 by the British Parliament, and there was huge opposition and Jinnah's resignation. So you can find out 4 points over here as well. What was Jallianwala Bagh incident or the Amritsar massacre? Because of the strict measures of the British, 20,000 people, including Muslims, Sikhs and Hindus, gathered at Jallianwala Bagh in Amritsar city. There were people of all ages and just gathered for peaceful demonstration and protest. General Dyer was to control the violence, so he closed the narrow exits and ordered his army to shoot at the crowd. More than 400 people died over there and about 1,200 people got wounded or injured. So you can find out 4 points from here as well to explain that what was Jallianwala Bagh incident or what was Amritsar massacre. Question may come in both cases, like this or this, right? Who was General Dyer? General Dyer was a British Indian Army officer who was made a temporary brigadier general for controlling Amritsar. He ordered his army to attack a crowd in the Jallianwala Bagh on unarmed civilians who were gathered for peaceful demonstration over there. Due to this, he was investigated by Hunter Committee in England. So Justice Hunter was a person who investigated the incident of Jallianwala Bagh. By its investigation, he was deposed of his services, but later he became a hero among the British that he tried his best to restore law and order situation in Amritsar city. So he was declared as a hero, but you can find out 4 points over here to explain this answer. What was Hunter Committee? It was a British committee set up to investigate the Amritsar massacre. It asked few questions to General Dyer, and by its findings, it deposed General Dyer from his service. So it means that I believe that we can add up this one, that the British government wanted to get the in-depth investigation of the Amritsar massacre. For that sake, the British government constituted this committee under the headship of Justice Hunter to find out that what actually had happened at Jallianwala Bagh Amritsar massacre. And as per the findings of that committee, General Dyer was considered as that he committed that crime of shooting on unarmed civilians over there at Amritsar Jallianwala Bagh, and he was deposed out from that active service, and you can say that he was sent to retirement, and there were no other stronger punishments were given to him. So what was Arya Samaj? It was founded by Dayanand in 1877 in India. It was a Hindu party which aimed to purify Hinduism. It forcefully converted Muslims into Hinduism and to reconvert those Hindus who had embraced Christianity. So 4 points are there. It was founded by Dayanand, point number 1. When in 1877, point number 2. It was a Hindu party, point number 3. Aimed to purify Hinduism, you can say that it was a Hindu religious party. It forcefully converted the Muslims and the Christians towards Christianity, point number 4. And it reconverted many of the Hindus back to Hinduism from Christianity, point number 5. So you can find out 4 points out of them. Who was Pandit Mohan Malaviya? He was the president of Indian National Congress. He helped Hindu Mahasabha to found. He attended first roundtable conference in 1930 and was a notable person in Gandhi's non-cooperation movement. He was the founder of the Hindustan Times, the media or the news organization. You can say that the newspaper organization, the Hindustan Times, was established by this person, Pandit Mohan Malaviya. So he was the president of Indian National Congress, point number 1. He helped Hindu Mahasabha to found, point number 2. He attended first roundtable conference in 1930, point number 3. And he was notable person in Gandhi's non-cooperation movement, point number 4. And he was the founder of the Hindustan Times, point number 5. So you can gain full 4 marks from this question as well. What were Delhi proposals? These were proposals given by Jinnah in 1927 to a conference of All India Muslim League over there in 1927 at Delhi. He gave few demands which he said if would be accepted that he would give up the demand of separate electors. He said that there should be 1/3 Muslim majority in all central legislature. Sindh should be separated from Bombay residency and should be made a separate province, and all the reforms should be introduced in NWFP and Balochistan as those were introduced in the other provinces of the subcontinent. So this is how you can see that what were the Delhi proposals. We have discussed this particular topic in the previous lessons as well, and these proposals were given by Jinnah in 1927 in a conference of All India Muslim League. A complex sentence, 2 marks. He gave few demands and said that he would get out of that demand of separate electorate if these demands are accepted. What were the demands? 1/3 seats in the assemblies. This was point number 2. This one. And 1/3 Muslim seats in the legislative assemblies. Sindh should be separated from Bombay residency. Point number 3. Point number 4. And NWFP and Balochistan should also be given the provincial status in the form of imposition of the British laws over there. So point number 5. So you can have 4 points over here from these as well. What was diarchy? Diarchy means a government by 2 authorities. One were the British and the other ones were the locals. As I already explained, the departments which would remain under the control of the British, they were known as the reserved subjects. And for the locals, transfer to the locals, that the locals could also handle those departments, that is known as the transferred subjects. Okay, now in India, it was started in the Government of India Act of 1919. I mean, Montague-Chelmsford reforms. In these reforms, the diarchy was introduced on provincial level. I mean, in the provinces, this system was introduced. The reserved subjects such as defense were most important and were controlled by provincial governors and other executive councils, and the transfer subjects were less important such as forest and were controlled by Indian ministers. Diarchy was dropped at provincial level and brought at central level in the Government of India Act of 1935. So it means that this diarchy was introduced at the provincial level in 1919, but it was switched to central level in 1935 and dropped at the provincial level in 1935. I mean the Government of India at the last reforms of the subcontinent. So here we are at the end of the 4 marks questions up to the topic of Simon Commission 1927, and inshallah we will move forward with the next topic, that is the Nehru report, in our coming lessons, and then we will move towards the Jinnah's 14 points and then Allahabad address and the roundtable conferences in the coming lectures. So up till now, this is over from my side. Do not forget to subscribe my channel RU Speaks, as Raja Umar speaks only and only for you, for Pakistan Studies and Global Perspectives. With a new lesson, I will be with you tomorrow, inshallah. Thank you so much. Till then, Allah Hafiz.